This is Curt Frantz reporting for Infowars at Infowars.com and Prison Planet at PrisonPlanet.com. In early June, several hundred Google employees and stockholders put forth a proposal in which they wanted to address the persistent underrepresentation of women and racial minorities in the company's U.S. workforce relative to the national population. It was voted down. Now, the technical people at Google are very smart, technically, but the several hundred that were involved in this, or any people who support them that weren't directly involved, are non-rational when it comes to relationships, which means also societal issues and politics, which are all about relationships. Google is an IT, information technology company, primarily. I've been in the information technology industry for more than 40 years. And in all of that time, in every meeting I've ever been in, and every meeting I've ever heard of, there's never been something said like, we better not have this meeting now because we don't have enough women present. Or, well, whatever we decide here today, we're going to have to revisit because there aren't enough blacks present. Or, this meeting's going to have problems because there's too many Hispanics in it. It's ridiculous. That never happens. That type of diversity is meaningless in that industry. There's no such thing as the female way of developing software or the black way of testing software. That doesn't exist. That diversity doesn't mean anything. There is a group that they didn't mention in their proposal that does have meaning, and that is by age. There's little substitute for experience. So someone with 10, 20, 30 years of experience in the industry brings more to the company than somebody without that experience. Now, how does Google match their age with the general population age? The average age of an American employee is 42 years. The average age of a Google employee is 29. So what that means is if they wanted to match that national population diversity by age, they'd have to hire again another 85,000 people, double their employees, and that average age of those new 85,000 would have to be 55 years old to get to an average age that matches the working population in the country. They're not going to do that. Yeah, they're ageist. Women are about 51% of the population in this country. And of those who graduate with a computer science degree, it's about 18% female. So if they're trying to draw to 51% in their technical positions of women, and are drawing from a market supply of 18%, now if you assume that females and males have comparable skills when they go through and get a computer science degree, and that the bell-shaped curve of their abilities are roughly the same, and they are roughly the same desire or non-desire to work at Google, which I think those are all three safe assumptions, then if you were, the further away you get from 18%, the more you dilute your talent pool at Google. Google would be diluting their talent pool. So if you place quota over quality, the company's going to suffer. It's not a good idea business-wise. Also, if you were able to do that, apart from lowering the standards within the company, what you would be doing is hogging a lot of the females from other companies. So they would have a smaller pool to draw from, although maybe higher skilled technically because you're left behind some of those males. And that would indicate some level of selfishness and self-absorption on the part of those who want to go higher than the 18%. And how does Google do with their hiring of women in technical jobs? They're at 20%. They actually have more women than the market supply would suggest to have. So if anything, if you want to split hairs, they should be reducing the number of females in their workplace. Well, how do they do in the other areas? We certainly don't do so good in age. How about Hispanics? Latinos, Hispanics make up about 17% of the population in this country. They earn about 12% of the computer science degree, but they're only 4% of the Google workforce. Blacks are 13% of the population of the country, about 10% of the computer science degrees, but only 2% of the workforce, the technical workforce at Google. So that is lower than both the market supply and the national population. But how about whites? Whites are 63% of the population. They're 62% of the computer science degree, but only 56% of the employees in the technical jobs at Google. So whites are underrepresented at Google if you want to go by the national distribution. So maybe still some from the women, but the Latino, Hispanic, the blacks and the whites, they need to grow more. Well, where's it going to come from? Well, the other group that we didn't talk about is the Asians. So they're 6% of the population. They're 7% of the degrees in computer science, but they're a whopping 35% of the employees at Google in the technical jobs. I don't know how many of those are on work visas. That's a different issue, but they are overrepresented if you want to look at groups. So this proposal means to steal from one minority and give to others, while even the majority is already on the shorter side. So it's not very well thought through. What they're really doing is this is not about this balancing. What it's about is virtue signaling, it's social justice warrior, it's a fantasy land where you're trying to create a workplace environment that you feel more comfortable in or think looks better, all at the loss of the company. That's not what a company's in business for, to provide you with fantasy lands. And how do these several hundred employees live in their daily life? Rather than tell other people how to live, how they ought to operate as a business, how do they do themselves? Do they look and say, well, I've been seeing this kind of a doctor for so long, I got to change to a different kind of a group, a member of a different group, a minority, because I haven't seen a black doctor in a while, I should start seeing a black doctor, or a Latino dentist because I haven't seen one in a long time. I got to have my percentage of dentist visits match what the population is. Or the goods and services I buy, do they match the owners of those companies, or maybe the workforces in those? Are those things representative of the general population? Or how about in their personal lives and their friends? Do they have 17% friends that are Latino, Hispanic, and 13% who are black, and 63% who are white, 50-50 about males and females? Are their friends spread across the ages that the population, the general population has? No, they're not, probably none of those things. So this is do what I say, not what I do type of situation, which is suggestive with the self-absorption of a low sense of self. And there's another part that goes with this that also suggests that. They had a second proposal they took to Alphabet. They demanded that the company do more to promote civil discourse on a company's internal online message boards. Now, who on their internal company message boards would be using vulgar language or personal attacks? Nobody's going to do that. Go out on some blog someplace where people are talking politics or whatever, and you see these things going back and forth, the name calling, the cussing. That's harsh. That's not civil discourse that's going on there. A lot of times it's not any discourse. It's just yaping. But what must be going on is the speculation, because I've never read a Google internal message board, is probably some people are presenting well thought through, perhaps well thought through, perhaps not so well thought through, arguments that other people don't want to hear. They don't want that information. So they call that uncivil discourse. Don't be telling me things I don't like to hear. That's aggressive towards me, and that shouldn't happen. That's snowflake. Higher institutions of higher learning did you no favors by protecting you, by allowing you to be snowflakes, by giving you safe spaces, by protecting you from speech that would be uncomfortable to hear. You're in the real world now. If you're out there working at Google or any other place, you got to grow up. There aren't no safe spaces. And in order to be successful, you got to be stronger and healthier and put away that stuff. Grow your sense of self. This is Curt Frantz reporting for Infowars at Infowars.com and Prison Planet at PrisonPlanet.com.